Welcome to this video, which hopefully will help students in working through the Chapter 3 exercise in the Android book. Hopefully you watched the preview video I had where I showed the actual ticket vault from page 70 in your textbook. Again, as I've always said before, be sure to pause the video and or replay it if I go too fast or if you are losing part of the instruction. On page 70, there is a program where it's a little different from the healthy recipes with salsa that we did back in chapter 2, where now instead of just clicking a button, you actually do some input. In this case, you have concert tickets. You choose a concert from a drop-down menu, and you pick the number of tickets you want, and after clicking the button, the computer will calculate the cost of those tickets depending upon the number that the user types in. Also, as part of the background for this application on concert tickets, we're also going to have a theme in there, basically a style as far as what the activity looks like. A lot of websites such as WordPress will have something called a theme, which is basically a background, or maybe you want to think of it in terms of wallpaper in the house. It's the background on which the particular smartphone application will lie. The actual start with this would be on page 72 of your book, and when you go into Eclipse, we're going to go into the new button right here. And again, if you have the trouble sliding across with new like I do sometimes, you can hold down alternate shift and the letter N, and I tend to get trouble with this quite a bit, so I'll do this to lock in the stuff. And I'm going to choose Android Application Project right here. I've done this many times before with you, and again, I apologize for the book not matching because Eclipse has the right to change their software interface after a book is published. That's the thing about a technology book compared to a math book, an English book, a sociology book, a history book. You don't have the issues with that you do with technology. So the project name is going to be called, and again, the project name will be the same as the application name. So when I type in concert tickets, again, step 1, page 72 of your book, concert tickets will be both the name of the application and the project name. For the package, we're going to change this name that's defaulted right here, and we'll do like it says in the book, and we'll type in net.android bootcamp, the name of the textbook, all one word, no spaces, .concert tickets. And we'll click the next button. We'll use the launching of these particular figures when we're designing our application. We'll choose blank activity, which is the top selection. And then for the activity name, we'll type the word main with a capital letter, and that should take care of step 1 for us. We'll click the finish button, and this will generate our big folder for concert tickets. And inside of this, we'll have the different source and layout files that we'll need. And of course, the palette comes up on the left side of the screen, and this is our default right here. It says concert tickets. You've got the typical hello world in the center. I know this is very tiny on your screen, but if you'll click this with your mouse and just hit the delete key, that will take that particular text box away. If you want to expand this to look at it, you can if you want to. Now in step 2, it asks us to go inside this package on the left hand side, find the resident folder, and it's right over here. You click that to open up the subfolders, find layout, and activity main may already generate for you. It probably has. If you do what the book says and click activity main, you're going to get this palette and this particular display for the emulator screen that's going to be already there. Yours will probably already be there. And they use the word main. We have one called activity main, which is basically the same thing. We've deleted hello world. And we probably do not have to change the layout, but again, if you go very literally by the book, they will ask you in step 2 on page 73 to right click it, choose the option that says change layout. We want it to be relative layout. Yours is already that way, but I want to make sure that those who need the visual and the exactness of the book can look at it. So if I click change layout, it says change from relative layout. We already have relative layout, so we don't have to worry about it. So yours is already set basically like it needs to be. Now, what we'll do at this point is we'll go under Application Themes. And I'm on step 3 of page 74. If I click above Concert Windows, you see Default, Nexus 1, and then over here you see Application Themes. If you'll click this, you can go down the list of built-in themes, and if you will choose the word theme right here, plain old theme, move across here, you have several themes from which you can choose, and it says to choose the one that says theme black no title bar, which in my case is the third one from the top. So I'll click that, and this will give us that dark background that we wanted to have just a few minutes ago. Again, be patient with your machine if you have a slower machine. Alright, now the theme is only displayed in this main or activity main XML layout. But to actually display the theme in the application, we have to use a special file that's called an Android manifest file to actually show it in our window when we actually write the program. So we're going to go over and find the Android manifest file. So we do that by moving over to the left, and almost toward the bottom you'll see something that says Android manifest.xml, and you'll click that. You can actually, and when you click this, it will open up another file for you, and you'll look at the very bottom. Here's the Android manifest file right here, and if you look across the bottom of the screen, you'll see manifest, application, permissions, instrumentation, and then Android manifest XML. If you will look at the bottom tab right here over on the right that says Android manifest XML and click that, you'll get the actual code that shows up right here. I'm now on page 75. And if you have your lines numbered, you can actually look at this and maybe find this a little bit more easily handled for you. Now again, if you can't find the numbers on here, that's totally okay. What you want to do is to find, on step 2 of page 75, you want to go to the code that says Android name equals main, and that one, if you look at the word application, go down 4 lines where it says activity, and then it says Android name, and then main. If you'll click right there at the end of that line and then press the enter key, you're going to insert another blank line there, and you've got to be very careful with your typing here. A lot of mine oftentimes is the sight issue for me, my being able to see. So I'm going to type in Android this is written in the middle of step 2 on page 75 in bold letters. Android theme equals quotation mark @ symbol like you have for email, and the little IntelliSense right here, the choices right here will try to help you out. And if you want to choose these, you can. You want Android followed by a colon, then the word style, / theme with a capital letter, dot, black with a capital letter, dot, no title bar, quotation marks. Now the period just happens to be the end of the sentence in the book. You don't have to type the period in there. So be sure you have written this out, that you've typed it very carefully. If you're like me and you have vision issues sometimes, you need to be careful with what you're typing. Alright? You can close this particular concert ticket manifest tab if you want to, and it will ask you to save it because you made a change to the file, to the code. So click yes to save it. Step 3, page 75. Now you have this saved. Alright, what's going to happen on the Android phone, page 76? We can enter text on our phone in a lot of different ways. We have those built-in keyboards that are physically attached to the phone. We have the soft keyboards that are part of the screen, and you have different, and you have the gestures where you can pinch the phone, you can slide things around. There are a lot of variations, and that's a challenge when you're dealing with mobile applications, how to simplify them for applications that appear on a screen, because the screen can be very small for a smartphone. It can be very large for a tablet like an iPad, and even larger for maybe a laptop computer or a desktop computer. So that's the challenge these days. And we're going to use one that has the soft keyboard automatically built into it. You can read about this on pages 76 and 77, where we'll have the built-in keyboard as part of our application. And I showed this in the preview video that I did earlier, which I hope you looked at. They talk about on page 78 and 79, they talk about actually adding the components to the black background that we have now. So we're going to start with that. We're going to have a screen that has the words Ticket Vault, the text. We'll have a box where they can enter the number of tickets purchased. We'll have a drop-down menu that has the choice of concert groups. And we'll have a button that they'll click to find the ticket cost, and then we'll have a picture to go in the background. Alright, step 1 on page 78. We'll go ahead and get this set up first. We have Activity Main open. We're going to click the Forms widget option. Yours is probably already clicked. Mine is, but just to show you what will happen, here's text field right here. We're going to click Form widget, and we're going to drag in what we've done in all the other exercises so far. Go over here to text view, and it'll be a little bit hard to see on my screen because it's the black background now. But it's the one on the left that we've done before. Drag text view over here, and if you move it so that the vertical line is in place, it will center it for you. And if you get some kind of nasty message like I do where you have a compatibility issue, maybe my computer has some hard drive issues and yours may also. If you get a message like this, it's just saying, do you want to install an updated version of the software? And if you remember, the software for the Android, just like exactly for your smartphones, has dessert names like ice cream and jelly bean. Jelly bean being the latest one. Just click install. Pretty easy fix if that ever happens to you. And if you get some kind of nasty error like I'm getting right here, just work with it the best you can, and you'll be totally fine with it. Don't worry about it. We'll work through it. I'm not worried about it, and I don't want you to worry about it. It's easy for you to worry. It's easy for me to say, don't worry. But remember, I'm the instructor. I'm the one that gives the grade to you. Don't sweat it so much. Click on the text view option right here, and if you remember, you can go over here to the properties, and you want to change the name of this text property to the word, instead of it saying text view, you want the text, which is in the big bold letters right here. You want to change that in step number 1 on page 78. You want to change it to Ticket Vault, T-I-C-K-E-T spacebar V-A-U-L-T. Just text is all you're typing right there. Go ahead and enter that in there, and you'll change the size, the text size. If you'll click in the bold area right beside of it, you're going to type in 40 SP with no space between the 40 and the SP, and it will make it a little bit larger, and hopefully you can see this in this video on the screen. Okay, we'll now go to the second step on page 79, and we're going to choose, instead of form widgets over here in the palette, we'll go right below it and choose text fields. So click on that. You have a number of different kinds of text fields in here. There can be some where you enter people's names, some where you enter phone numbers, where you enter alphabet, where you enter addresses. You may see something here that says lorem ipsum. That's just basically fake Latin, for lack of a better word. It's just a filler text if you ever need that, just to use for web design, just to display spacing area. We're going to click the number format, and if you scroll down through here, you'll see one on here. I think it displays like a 42. Yeah, just scroll down. Now don't get the 42, the negative 42, and the 42.0 mixed up. One of them is for decimals, one of them is for sign numbers, positive and negative, and one is just regular numbers that we do when we're ordering items in a supermarket or a concert or something. We would not say, I want -4 tickets. We would say, I want 5 tickets. So we're going to click the one that says 42. So select that one, and again, just drag that control right there, the 42, just drag it down below Ticket Vault, and again, when you get the vertical line that's solid, it'll center it for you. You can put it as high up or as low as you want to, totally up to you. Let go when you feel like it, and there's your text field right there. Now over here in the ID property, right now it's got the @ symbol plus ID / and it's got edit text 1, that's the default name. You want to change this so that it says, instead of edit text 1, just backspace through here. Again, step 2, page 79 in your book, and you want to say @ symbol like email plus ID / TXT capital TICKETS TXT capital letter tickets. Be sure you're typing that exactly. Go ahead and enter that, and you'll set the text size. You'll scroll down through here. You want the text size to be, as soon as I find it, you want it to be 25 SP. So we'll locate that, and you may find it likely faster than I will. Just look for text size. It should be right there. You type in 25 SP, and it should make it a little bit larger actually. Alright, and it spreads across the screen basically like that. Alright, now, a lot of times you will have people, not so much these days, but you'll have some people once in a while who are not understanding, if not clueless, inexperienced about knowing where to type in the entry when they're typing in a number in a smartphone app. So you want to set something called the hint property so they'll know exactly where to type the information. It's just a description of the field. So inside that text box we're going to have just a temporary field that says number of tickets. It's referred to as a hint or a watermark just to indicate what the purpose of it is. And if you select that text field, you may have clicked away from it, but if you select it so that the little blue handles are around it, you can go over to the hint property over in the properties, and it's right there on my screen right below the word text, and you'll type in the words number of tickets. This is on step number 1 on page 80. Type in number of tickets, hit enter, and it's just a little filler right there. Don't worry if it's not centered as far as we're concerned right now. That's okay. And you have that locked in. We're now going to code what's called the edit text class. In other words, we want the user to know, should they type in a positive number, should they type in a decimal number, should they type in dollars and cents, should they type in a fraction. We want to make sure that the person does not type in an inappropriate number. For example, you're not going to get 2.5 tickets, and we don't want the user on a smartphone to type in an invalid value. Otherwise, that would mess up the application. We would get frustrated with it. We would delete it from our phone because it's too complicated to deal with. So we want to make sure that the information not only is the appropriate kind of information, which would be positive integers, counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the number of tickets, but we want to store that information in a variable just like we do in algebra in order for it to be used later on, because we need the number of tickets in order to calculate the cost. And in Java we use a word behind the scenes called final, which means once that variable value is set up that it will not be accidentally changed by the compiler, by the software that runs the program. We do that by coding a sentence that's on the bottom of page 80 called final. And again, don't worry about the way the sentence looks right now. Just trust me and trust the book and how it works. And as we get into the small exercises, some of these ideas will start making a little bit of sense to you. Don't worry about how perfectly you understand Java after this particular book. I'm not worried about that, and you shouldn't worry about it either. It's just the experience of understanding how smartphone technology works from a programming standpoint. So on page 81, what we're going to do is to put the description of this text field and the information we type in. We're going to assign that to the correct program within this software. So to do that, we want to code it by going into the SRC folder, the source folder, which is over here on the left, right below concert tickets. You'll see something called SRC or source folder. If you'll click the arrow, you'll see another folder where we did the net.android bootcamp. Remember that we did that earlier when we coded it. And when we click that arrow, we'll see something called main right there. We're going to open that up and we'll see Java text right there. And when you open this, you want to click to the right of the line that says set content view r.layout activity main. If you look for the word override, there are two of them. Look for the very first occurrence of the word override. Find set content view. It's the last sentence of those three right before the closing brace. Just click on the end of this, hit the enter key, so we'll have a blank space right there, and we're going to type the sentence that's in bold letters on page 81. Now, I hope in this dark room where I'm recording this video that I can see this. You're going to type the word final and be very careful with your spelling, space, edit text, and the capitalization is sensitive, so edit capital E, capital T, tickets, that's the name of the variable, equals. Don't get excited about the X mark. Eclipse gets a little excited thinking you're wrong, and it's like, give me time to type the sentence, computer, and we'll be happy. So don't worry about that. Put edit text in parentheses after the equal mark, close them, find, capital V-I-E-W, no spaces here, by with a capital, ID with a capital I, parenthesis, R dot, ID dot, TXT, capital tickets. And the little IntelliSense will sometimes come up and help you. Sometimes it's a hindrance. Go past that particular closing parentheses and be sure you end the whole thing with a final semicolon. Now you probably will have a red curly line under the word edit text as soon as you've typed this. Go over there and just hover over it, and when you hover over it, you should see something that says import the edit text. That's telling the computer to relate the text field that we did a minute ago to this computer code. So we'll click on that little import statement. That will make the edit text curly brace go away, and as soon as I move away from it, and again, if you have the little X there, don't worry about it for right now. We'll get it to work out later on. Don't be concerned about the X for right now. It will work itself out later. So we've typed that in. Now, we're going to go back to the main program. We now have two of our components in there, the ticket vault text and the number of tickets text box. Now we want to have a list of choices as far as the concert we want to go to. If you turn on page 82, we get to select what group we want to see in the concert. Now again, just trust the book. We don't have AC/DC from the 80s. We don't have the Beatles from the 70s. They did some fake ones because sometimes it's a copyright issue with books if you pick real groups. So Corinne, the writer, made some up called Dragonfly, 9 Volt, and Red Road. Now when you have a drop-down list like this where you have choices with the little radio button, sometimes these are referred to in programming as spinners, where you can drop a list down instead of having to let the people type the name of the concert artist. They might misspell the word Dragonfly. We know how we've misspelled stuff in texting messages to each other. So we'll have a spinner group that has the names in there instead of actually typing them in. And we have a series of names here. They're referred to as strings in computer programming. A string is just a set of characters. The word Dragonfly, a license plate like ABC 1234 would be considered a string. Is something that you don't do arithmetic on. We have something in the software called a string table, and there's a file that defines that for us. It's stored in something called an array, and there's a file that has this in the Android application that's called string.xml. And when we're dealing with this, we're basically prompting the user when we're using this application to type in the number of tickets, which we've just programmed, and we want them to select the group or the concert that they want to see. So in order to get that, we're going to go over to the left, and I'm now on page 83, step 1. You want to expand something called the values folder in this package. So go down about 2/3, 3/4 of the way down, you'll see the word menu, then you'll see the word values. Open that folder by clicking the little arrow on the left hand side, and you'll see something called strings. Go ahead and double click that to open it, and you'll see an Android resource for string values. This is where we get lists of information, like in this case the list of the concerts. Alright, we'll click the add button, which is a little box. It's the first box in the list called add, remove, up and down. Just click on add, and once we've done that, the dialog box will open up, and we're going to check the one that says string array. Now not string, but string array. String would be if you wanted one item in the list. String array is where we want a series of items. So click string array, choose OK right there, and it's another set of information we're going to have. And we'll actually type in the stuff that we're going to want. Now what we'll do right here for the name of our string array, we're going to go over here to this name text box, and we're going to type the word groups with a capital G, and we call this selection of concerts that we have, we'll call them groups. Alright, now that we have that, we'll click the add button again, and now that we have a group there, we're going to select the word item, which is the only choice we have right now. And we'll click OK. And the button up at the very top that says create a new element in the selected element string array, we leave that little button selected. Choose item, click OK, and we'll type in the first value in our group. The first value in our group, step 3, page 84, is the word dragonfly, capital DRAGONFLY. Alright, we'll click the add button again and choose item. Click OK. We'll type the word for the second group. We'll type the word 9, N-I-N-E with a capital letter, volt, V-O-L-T with a capital V. That will be our second item. We'll click add again. And the third and final item we'll type in, once we choose item right here, click OK. And in the value box, we'll type in the third group called Red Road. And you'll notice over on the left hand side it's got groups for the name of our string array, and it has item, item, item. That's perfectly okay. And now we have these three items, these three groups were added to our groups string array. Now, we're going to do something else right here. One more thing. We're going to click the add button again, and I'm now on step 4 of page 84. We're now going to add a prompt that tells us what to do. So if I click the add button now, we're going to do the very top button that says create a new element at the top level in resources. So instead of choosing that bottom radio button, the round one, we'll choose the top one. And now that we're choosing that in resources, we'll select the word string, not string array, but just plain old string. So notice what we selected here in this dialog box. The top button, create a new element at the top level in resources, then the word string. Click OK. And for this name, we're going to type the word title, T-I-T-L-E, capital T. And under value right here, we're going to write down something called select group. This will start making a little bit of sense in just a few minutes, I promise. Alright, and we've got that done. So now we'll close this particular program, strings.xml, by clicking the X. It will ask us to save it, and we'll save this work. And there's our code so far. Now once we've entered these three items, the dragonfly, the red road, and the 9 volt, to our list, we're now going to take that and put it in our program. So let's go back to activity main. We're going to click on that, and now we're going to add a spinner control there. So we'll click form widgets, and we've been using text field up to now, but there's one down here. You see the little round circles. To the left of that first round circle, you see something called spinner. I'm on step 1 of page 85. If you will drag the spinner widget over here, widget, by the way, stands for Windows Gadgets, in case anybody wondered. And we see the word item 1 right there by default. We're going to go over to the ID property where it says @ plus ID spinner 1, and we'll change that. Instead of spinner 1 right there, we'll call it, after the / we'll call it txt capital G ROUP text group. That period is just for the end of the sentence, not for the name. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. You can hit the enter key to lock it in if you want to. That's going to we'll eventually associate this group with what we have in our array that we did just a few minutes ago. We're going to take the file menu now, go over to the file menu on the far left and choose save all. This will save all of our files that we've done so far at this stage. And that'll update all the resources for us. Now, while we have the spinner control selected, and if you don't have it selected, just click on it so it is selected with the little blue handles. Go over to the properties and find the prompt property in the list. And mine's doing all kinds of jumping right here, but find it. Here's mine right here. Click on the prompt property, and right beside the word prompt, you're going to click, there's a little ellipse, there's 3 dots that are beyond. Normally we're typing something in the box, but all the way to the right you see 3 little dots in a tiny box. That's the ellipsis, and if you will click that, it will give you something called a reference chooser, we're going to click where it says string right here. So click the little string arrow. We'll choose the word title. Click the OK button. And it looks like my properties went away. I'm going to click that item one more time. Alright, I'm going to go over to the entries property. And when in doubt, choose the one with the bold letters. You see on mine I've got entries in smaller case and entries in lower case. I would always choose the bold lettered one. And they've got an illustration on page 86 for you in step 2. So what you'll do right here is click to the right, click the little ellipsis button next to entries. And the reference chooser, now we're going to choose array, which is the very top one. Click the arrow next to array, and you see the name groups that we did earlier. So we'll choose groups, click OK. And what will happen is it will associate the groups with it. Now again, the properties disappeared, but if I click on here, it will say inside the entries, it will say array, and it has the word groups right there. It will remember that name. Now what we have to do is we have to assign that information to a variable, just like we did for the number of tickets a few minutes ago. So if I go over to page 87, we're going to go back over to the Package Explorer over on the far left, and we'll go and click main.java. There's main right there. And we're going to go right after the edit text tickets line that we did earlier. Hit the enter key at the end of that line, and we'll type in the sentence, pardon my throat, on page 87, step 1, that's in bold, final with a lowercase f, spinner group equals, spinner with a capital S in parentheses, and after the parentheses, find view with a capital letter, by with a capital letter, ID with a capital letter, r.id dot text group, and end that with a semicolon. Alright, so again, final spinner group equals spinner in parentheses, find view by ID, r.id.text group. Again, point to the red curly line under the word spinner, and you'll pick the very first import option so that it will bring this text, for this spinner group that we have, and associate with our code. And the red curly line under there should go away for us. We can close main right now. Now don't get main and activity main mixed up here, and we'll save our work. I'm going to stop at this point and not make the video any longer, and if you have any questions about this, please contact me.